abhinandanti na dveshti tasya prajna pratishtita.
Or had 57.
Did you?
We did do 57. We did
Okay.
do 57. We're on
So-
58 by my records.
Okay.
Good or bad fortune, don't rejoice or hate. And good or bad fortune.
So, did you all get Winthrop Sargent? Look at Winthrop Sargent. Did you? What's your name? Vanessa.
Yeah.
Did you look at Winfred Sargent? No, it's online. It gives you
Okay.
the breakdown
Oh,
of word by word. It's kind of nice. Did you prepare? Either you
I
two?
did.
Did you prepare?
No.
That's okay. How about you?
A little.
Okay, so you're gonna do 58?
Okay.
All right.
Yada samharte cha
Harate.
samharate cha ayam
Cha-ayam.
cha ayam kurmah angani eva sarvasah.
That's very good.
sarvasha.
That's very
Yeah.
good. That Angani Iva, very good.
Indriyani indriya art
Okay,
artebyah or artebyas
all right.
tasya pratnya pratishta
Pratishtita.
pratishtita. Yeah.
Pratishtita.
Yeah, so yada, I guess, like when
Or
then
as.
oh, when, okay, or as, okay, like this one completely withdraws, like, yes.
What case is kurma in?
Korma I have as nominative.
Okay, so it's going to be subject along with ayam.
Yeah, this one, yeah, like, I mean, Eva, like the limbs of a korma, like the limbs of a turtle.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah, when they completely withdraw, like a turtle's limbs, then, when they withdraw the senses, the indriyas from the indriya artas,
Right.
the senses from the sense objects, then their prajna is pratishta, their knowledge is steady, still strong, stable.
You want to translate prajna as knowledge?
Could, I mean, often prajna, wisdom, it may be better, instead of jnana, maybe prajna is stronger, right? Is that,
Yeah.
wisdom may be better, right?
Maybe wisdom.
What do you like?
I don't know. I like the influence of the Yoga Sutra, Chittavritti Nirodha, that prajna is sort of like their mental awareness or awareness in general. Their consciousness is not bothered by thought.
Okay.
And they're quiet. They have a quiet mind.
Uh-huh.
They're able to sit without thinking,
Yeah.
but very aware. Prajna.
Prajna. Okay, yeah, but very
I
aware.
think prajna has a similar sense
Yeah.
in some other traditions.
I think,
Like
from
in-
that Prajna Paramita
Yeah,
school.
prajna paramita, that sort of highest level of consciousness.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the perfection of wisdom would typically be how that's translated. But
Yeah, but wisdom, to me, when I think of wisdom, I think of Confucius or somebody, right? Somebody who can, tell you, the way to proceed in some way or other. Wisdom, I don't know, maybe that's just because I lived in a philosophy department and wisdom seemed like something intellectual, like, I don't know, Socrates or Aristotle.
as opposed to what it.
Knowledge felt more like a realization?
Or,
So, like, I like prajna as sort of more consciousness or awareness. Their awareness is settled, not pulled in this direction or that.
how it would that be? How would you distinguish between like jnana or jnana and prajna? Then, like, is pra like a? What does the prefix do? The pra do to the
Prajna. I don't know. I don't think it's etymological as more as usage.
Yeah.
Right. I think use trumps etymology.
Sure. I'm sure that's true.
But look, when it suits our purposes, I'm all for etymology. But not in this case. Anyway, so no, but project. I don't know. I just haven't. I'm just giving you my own take on wisdom.
Yeah, great.
That's not a particularly good translation. What does Radhakrishnan have? You've got Radhakrishnan over there.
Scott,
Yeah.
what does that one say?
You have Radhakrishnan on
58.
on 58.
What's the question I'm supposed to read?
What does he say?
Prajna. What does
What
he
does
say?
How does he translate the
What
last?
does he gets steady or still or established or strong or something by his withdrawal of the senses from their objects should get?
Doesn't really say.
58.
Yeah, I'm
Just what
there.
everybody says.
Right. He who draws away the senses from the objects of sense on every side, as a tortoise draws in his limbs into the shell, his intelligence is firmly set.
Intelligence is what
He
they
uses
use.
intelligence.
Well, if intelligence isn't overly intellectual, then nothing is.
Yeah. Sorry, I asked.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Sergeant's on my side, by the way.
did you do another one?
I did.
Okay, let's keep
Okay.
going.
Okay. Vishaya vini vartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasa api asya param darshtva nivartate.
Yes, this one we did as a preview.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Right. Like when the body or the one with the body is like fasting.
Well, ahara is food, and nirahara would be, fasting, but I think it's metaphoric. I just think it means
Yeah.
the one who's not, hungry for things in general,
Sure.
not just food.
But if it's metaphoric, then
I think it covers
Okay.
all kinds of desire, not just food.
right. Okay.
I mean, my person, because that actually goes with dehinaha, which is the possessor of the body.
Yeah. I mean, as a translator, do you preserve the literal meaning of the word and let the metaphor come to the reader, or is
Depends.
okay? Sure.
I mean, if it's an awkward, if the metaphor doesn't work in English,
Yeah,
then
great. Then of
the
course
hell
not.
with the metaphor.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. In that state, I guess, sense objects are turned away, or one is turned away from sense
Well,
objects.
the objects themselves they turn away from, they don't grab you. Vishya is the subject of vinivartante.
Okay.
So it's the objects sort
The
of.
objects do the turning away. I mean, I saw that but I couldn't make it work. But if that's what it says, it's great. But that's how.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think that's possible to. I mean, if we think of Vishya as unconscious,
Yeah.
they don't have intentions.
Right. Yeah.
So
Right.
it's talking about, as it were,
Okay.
the
Right.
objects don't grab us.
But is the verb vinivartante,
Don't take it too literally.
All right.
They just,
Yeah.
they don't bother us. They go,
Okay.
they go their own way.
Okay. Yeah.
They go for the embodied one who is without desire, niraharasya, except for
Rasa.
rasa.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in other words, remember this is, we probably lost sight of this, but remember in verses, 54, what is it? Yeah, 54, Arjuna asks, how does the person who's in samadhi, samadhi stuck, how does a person in samadhi, how does that person talk? How does that person walk, right?
Yeah.
And so this is the answer,
Yes.
right? They understand the rasa, or they get the rasa.
Yes.
But then it's almost as though there's this intermediate level. Now, so the tantrics make a lot of this,
Yes.
but not so much the super ascetic
Yes.
enlighteneds.
Right.
But the tantrics have this, what we were talking about earlier, this sort of intermediate level of, I think in Buddhism it'd be like Pure Land. It's like everybody's writing poetry, singing songs, dancing. You know, it's even things that we would look upon as ugly have some kind of meaningful play, lila,
Yeah.
and there's this rasa to it, right? There's sort of a higher level, sort of essence of the experience. I think the best example may be a horror movie, where it's delightful, even though it plays on fear, which nobody wants to be afraid. Fear is a negative emotion. But the rasa of the Bhyanika is delightful. So that the tantrics will really emphasize this, this intermediate level.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, tantric, like Tibetan tantric Buddhism, you know, also like you have all these different deities and these images that are like, they're cool. I mean, they're beautiful.
And also those rituals, those tantrics are incredibly, talk about perfectionism. And they are powerful.
Right.
I don't know, I once went to some ritual and some people just went into ecstasy. I mean, I don't know, it's got like holy rollers possessed or something.
Pentecostals.
Yeah. Anyway.
So then, but even that, even rasa is turned away for the one who has seen param, the ultimate, the highest.
Very good.
So, can you give me a little reminder of rasa?
Like, I thought
Rasa is literally taste, as in.
But I mean, like the essence of it.
Yeah, rasa sometimes in the
Rasa.
Upanishads is used as the essence. In its most common usage is just, you know, how does an apple taste, or an orange, or, you know, it's the, you know, the object of the tongue, right? But it gets generalized, or in an extended sense, it comes to be the experience of the beautiful in different modes. And originally there are 8 major rasas that are identified in the aesthetic literature. And then they expand on those a few. this great Kashmiri Shaivite Abhinavagupta that I've referred to a few times, he makes a big deal about a ninth rasa called Shantarasa. The Shantarasa is the rasa of spiritual peace. It has a certain flavor to it. Flavor is a good translation. And what you do, you relish rasa. Rasa, you relish it, right? And then he has it's a fantastic section where he has a guy arguing, saying, look, rasa is something that's communicated through art, through drama and poetry. Spiritual peace, you can't, what are you going to do? Just have some yogini just sitting there cross-legged, navel gazing? Where's the drama? And then he says, no. There are plenty of action scenes where you can see the rasa spiritual peace as when a person gives her life for another.
Yeah. I think my first attraction to Buddhism was just seeing this, like these statues where the eyes are not totally open and they're not totally closed, and there's this gaze, but it looks almost, even though their eyes are open, as if they're gazing inward, and it's like, it's totally an aesthetic, it's totally a piece of art, but somehow I was like,
somehow
cool.
It communicates.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, Sergeant, I don't know if maybe this is cheating or naughty of him, but he instead of saying the taste remains, he said sort of like the taste for those objects remains, which almost gives rasa more of a sound of like desire, like, okay, the objects turn away, but you still want them.
Well, look, this has a lot of very aesthetic verses, but as a preview, let's look at 70.
Okay, cool.
Let's look at 70, because this is right at the end, a kind of summation. And notice 70 is in that different meter trishtu. The other ones are in shloka, which are, sort of really, like iambic pentameter with Shakespeare. It's the sort of run-of-the-mill meter. Any half-wit poet can do shloka. But Trishtub is harder, right? 11 syllables. And here it says, Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudrama pravishanti yadvat tadvat kama yam pravishanti sarve sashantim apnoti nakama kame. So it says, Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudram, the ocean, apaha, waters enter the ocean, which, even though it's being filled up, stands achala, sort of still, unmoved. Tadva, like that, desires, kama yam pramishanta, whom, that's just the relative pronoun whom, all desires enter. That person whom all desires enter, that person attains shanti, spiritual peace, not the desirer of desire. So the distinction is between a sort of first order desire, where they just, hey, desires flow in, they flow out, as opposed to desiring desire. That's what you need to avoid, is desiring desire.
So we're gonna have desires.
We're going to have desires.
Gonna
You're a human being. You got to
But you
eat.
let them wash in and out.
They sort of,
like the ocean.
hey, they come, they go. Don't worry about it too much.
It's the grasping that causes the trauma, basically.
That seems like that's what this is saying. It's saying they enter. You're going to have desires, but they don't disturb you. There's some deeper part of yourself. Right, after all, look. Most Vedanta psychology goes back to the Upanishads, where they have 5 bodies. The embodied self has 5 bodies: the physical, the pranic, the lower mind, which is shared with animals, the higher mind, and then there's a body of bliss.
Anandamaya.
Anandamaya.
This is like astral mind.
Yeah, it's beyond the mind.
Like all the different layers.
It's close to the self. And then the self is beyond that. and,
This isn't like Atman.
yeah, the Atman is beyond. Atman,
This is something else.
no. Atman is in the center, so to say,
The middle of the
or encompassing.
So it's peace at that.
It isn't a Taittiriya Upanishad. And the Tantrics then, have their own complicated system of, the chakras, Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, what's it, Vishuddha, Ajna, and Sahasrara or Sahasradhala, right? And so, again, these, and then the mind, any of these levels can be voiced, right? You voice hunger, you voice your desires, you voice your love, but there's a way of being conscious without sort of being absorbed in the object, I take it. That you're aware of the different levels of your being, and that's just the way it is. There are these different levels. They have their different modalities, but you don't hang on. You just, and it's transitory. Now, there's a level shift if you get to the self. And some interpreters of the Gita will say that's all that's important. But others will say, no, there's also a kind of fulfillment of all the different levels. There's a kind of perfectionism in the various bodies, which turns in I don't know, this is very tantric, it turns, you'll have the Kalarnava Tantra saying things like, on this path, there is no misstep. What seems to be a misstep is just fuel for more art, for producing more beauty. But that's the tantric reading, as opposed to a more ascetic reading.
Who says that?
Kalarnava Tantra, is that what you said?
Tantra is quite complicated, right, as you know. But yeah, Kala or Kula Tantra, that encompasses a lot of it. Anyway, so yeah, if I get some of you to, continue to read Sanskrit beyond the Gita, to tell the truth, what I'd like to read is this. This means flood of beauty. A flood of beauty, and it's so. It's just it's Devi worship, goddess worship, but the goddess is everywhere. And so anyway. So yeah, so 70 kind of softens where it says, these desires flow into you. What you need to avoid is desiring desire.
Yeah, what do you think of that, of Sargent here almost sort of equating rasa with desire, the way that he's phrased it? I mean, he says like your taste for objects, right, doesn't go away just because you're living an ascetic life. That only goes away when you have when you see the ultimate. And the tantrics will say,
You don't want it to go away.
Right.
You don't want it to go away. It's delightful.
Well, and then is he contradicting that himself in 70?
Yeah, well, it's saying, I don't know, there was a great Bengali mystic named Sri Ramakrishna who he would go into samadhi, into trance. You have a picture of him out there, right? But he was also famous for saying, coming a step down from total absorption in the divine reality is he liked better because what he said, to taste the sugar instead of being the sugar. He liked that better.
What a problem. What a problem.
Yeah.
That sounds nice. Well, I'm gonna taste it.
I'd much rather taste the sugar than be the sugar.
What's the spiritually privileged version of the phrase "first world problems"? It's a samadhi guy problems or something, avatar problems or something.
So I was thinking about what you were saying about is you relish it, right?
Uh-huh.
And so is this saying they still have that taste, but they don't relish it anymore when they get to that higher?
When they get to the,
that
when they see the
highest.
supreme, that even that goes.
Even that goes.
Right.
But that's
The beyond.
very, very, very,
The beyond.
up there. So
When you see this.
Yeah, and the Upanishads, which the Gita reflects a lot of the philosophy and teachings. The oldest yogic teachings are in what are called Upanishads, and there's this, as in Buddhism, there's this doctrine of indeterminability. It's called neti neti, na iti. It's not this. It's not that. It's a kind of skepticism or denial that you can compare it to anything with which you're familiar. So
Tat param purusha kyater gunavaitarshnyam.
nirguna.
There it is.
Nirguna is much the same idea.
I've heard that somewhere.
Nirguna, beyond properties,
Yeah.
right? But there's still, unlike in Buddhism, there's still the reality of the property bearer, the substance, is the self. That's the absolute, and you are that. That is.
You're
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Divine.
Tat twamasi, right?
your
Thou-
essence is.
Thou art that, right?
I mean, I can't make a tree, but little God particles, right?
I don't know. It's not like it keeps getting smaller and smaller down to the some particle, but somehow there's this conscious existence, and I don't know. It seems to me in the Upanishads they're not so worried about to get the right concept. They're emphasizing there's some bliss in that state. I mean, it's super, it's in one way desirable, right? I think even the Buddhists have this, right? The desire for nirvana is a self-correcting desire.
Well, there's all these once you reach these very high states of meditation, the form and the formless realm, it's first you let go of the physical sensation of bliss, and then once you let go of that, then you have to find a way to let go of the mental sensation of bliss. So letting go of all those different
That would
forms
be
of
Just
bliss.
give me the bliss.
Just give me
I'll
the
worry
bliss.
about
Just
that.
sit there for a while.
Yeah, I'll be alright with that.
I'll be okay with sitting there for a little while.
I'm alright with that. Absolutely.
So what about desire of consciousness? Because don't you have to have some
Yes.
be participating in this.
Absolutely.
So like the desire to exist, right? Is that like in this? Like you kind of like, where's that?
Yeah.
Well, that's basic.
Well, that goes, yeah,
You just become equanimous. Like
but
you're
the
just,
individual is, not emphasized.
maybe I said it wrong. Continuity of consciousness.
Continuity, well, we had in chapter 2 all this stuff about reincarnation.
Right.
But deeper than reincarnation is supposed to be, I don't know, the indwelling fire of Brahman, the absolute, the one true existent, in the sense that it always is what it is, and it becomes us. Is I think, the main Upanishadic message. There's different emphases in different Upanishads. But it's a little bit like, come on, in Buddhism, even though you have these Pratyeka Buddhas, it's still, there's this idea that everybody who experiences nirvana is experiencing the same thing.
That's true.
Right? It's not like there's all these individual nirvanas going
Isn't
on.
there like different subcategories of samadhi?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
different
Or
categories.
Nirvana's different. I guess I'm just
Yeah, yeah.
trying to
same thing,
interchange
same
words
thing,
here. Okay. They're not the same thing.
Same thing.
Not necessarily the same thing. Different things in Buddhism, but yeah. There are, some schools do believe the experience is different, but but not following the middle way.
Uh,
Yeah.
So, how many different samadhis do the
I
Yoga
mean,
Sutra?
in fact, what's one of the main things that makes it different, supposedly, is the state of mind experiencing it, right? So, like, if they have bodhicitta, which is often called, like, capital W, the wish, you see, it's a desire to use this experience to serve other people. So there is a drive there. There is certainly like an appetite, and there's
Yeah, like
this,
karuna,
there's this
compassion. Right?
karma. Yeah, right. Yeah, karuna. Yeah, right.
And sometimes they translate the vibrant void. It's not just the void, it's the void vibrating out in compassion.
And then there's all these debates about, well, does the Buddha still have the wish to become a Buddha? And they say, yeah, of course, he's into it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. he digs it. That doesn't go away.
But
Yeah.
to this, he wouldn't need it anymore because he's already attained the highest. Therefore, that taste for it would not be there anymore.
Well, taste for what? That's the thing. This is Vishaya. They're fairly specific about like what you have a taste for. Sensory objects is considered like
Yeah.
very base,
That's very basic.
as opposed to the sort of sustaining bliss of being in union with the divine
Right.
or with truth herself. That's not Vishaya. That's not sense objects.
Okay.
That's not like a nice smelling air freshener spray. It's better than that even.
The taste of sugar.
I gotta go take a
Okay.
kiddo to the doctor. Blasted.
Hasta
Thank you.
mañana.
Mañana.
I'll catch you up.
Okay, he'll catch me up.
And we have a video.
And we have a video too, that's good, okay. Thank you.
So,
Back to 60,
so we go to 60.
please.
Okay, yatato hi api kaunteya purushasya vipaschita indriyani pramathini haranti prasabhammana. So,
Can I ask you a stupid question just about, I don't know, there's a weird artifact in sergeant that I'm just noticing now.
In
Uh,
which,
He
in
put
which-
a diacritic over the A, but it's
Which
AU,
verse?
like Kantiena, right? Kantiena.
which verse? are you-
60.
60, okay.
Yeah.
Yatatogi County Pudashas.
Right. Yatato hi api kantiena.
Why would he put a diacritic over the A in an AU? Isn't that? There's no reason for that, is there?
I'm sorry, I don't have the.
Oh, you
Oh,
don't. It's okay. You don't need it. But I'm just.
You put a diacritic.
It's stupid.
The first A right after the K.
Yeah.
Why would you?
It's just kind of, there
Is there
shouldn't be.
ever a reason for a diacritic in a place like that?
No,
No.
Okay,
that's a
good.
mistake.
Good. Agreed. Great. I'm so glad.
Typo.
So glad to hear it. Good.
I'm sure that's been really bothering.
It was bothering. It was bothering. Thank you.
What the heck is this?
Good.
Yay, editing.
Yeah. I remember in Sanskrit class once, I had this real tough-nosed Sanskrit teacher, and he made us translate, go around in class every time, so it was like a test, and so you had to prepare. And so there was a misprint in the text.
Yeah.
I spent 3 hours trying to figure out how to break the sandhi, looking up in the dictionary, but it was a misprint.
Yes.
Whoops.
Yeah.
You'll never make that mistake though. You'll never make that mistake.
Self-correct.
Well, no, you realize that is one of the possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's very common.
that's a rookie mistake, actually.
No.
Very common,
I
right?
figure.
Yeah, you find it a lot.
I guess I must be a rookie. Yeah, because that's a very common issue for me.
So, yeah, it's
Mhm.
yeah, this reminds me where later on Arjuna will say, this is just way too hard. I'm not going to be able to make it.
Uh-huh.
So here it says, even a person who's striving, yata, a person, purushaha, o kaunteya, who vipaschitaha, who is wise, I think intellectually. Nevertheless, the senses, the churning senses can carry away that person's clear intelligence.
Mhm.
Even if you're trying, it's not easy.
Yeah. Even if you're wise and trying.
Yeah, if you're trying, even if you're trying and wise,
Yeah, right.
it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matpara.
Appreciate it.
Vishohi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. So to have prajna, the pratishtita, that's settled, that's firm, well, it's got to be that a person, there's a participle. Samyamya is a participle, it takes an object. Samyamya is controlling all around all of these. So having control of the senses. Yukta, that means practicing yoga. Yoga, yuj is the root and the past passive participle. So the one who is in yoga practice, who sits like that, mat paraha. Here we get one of the first ideas that Krishna identifies himself with the Absolute as a kind of sort of intent on me, on Krishna as the ideal, I don't know, as an embodiment. Krishna is supposed to live in the double consciousness, right? As a warrior, but also in samadhi. I mean, that's maybe the central problem of the Gita, is how to think of Krishna. And here we get, but here he says, you know, I mean, what does Mutt mean here? It means me, but does it mean Krishna the individual, or Krishna standing for the universal Godhead? So Vashohi, for whose, yasya, no, those are that relative pronouns, right? Ya, yam, yasya. For whose indriyas, senses, are in control, under control, vashe, tasya prajna pratishtata. So that's what it is. That's what it is to have this quiet mind. I mean, the way I understand that is, your desires speak to you, and you can't really have a chitta vritti nirodha if you allow your desires to voice themselves all the time, right? I mean, if you're just, you know, obsessed with your next hamburger or whatever, you're not going to have a quiet mind, I take it. But maybe I should quit talking and maybe interpretation just keep reading. But some of these are a bit difficult.
Seems like it checks out though.
It's welcome. It's welcome.
Okay. But I mean, this does surely connect with the Yoga Sutra. I think, in fact, it seems to me the Yoga Sutra is partly based on this. Because look, in the next line, we get dhyana, dhyayato, right? Vishayan pumsa sangha. So if you sit there thinking about, if you meditate on the objects, the person, then attachment is going to arise. Sangaste shu, in them locative. Upajayate is born. Sangat samjayate kama kamat krodha abhijayate. From attachment, kama, sort of gross desire. From gross desire, anger. And the next one. This is very ascetic verses. And like I say, Abhinavagupta, he just leaves them alone. He doesn't comment. Krodhat bhavate samoha samohat smriti brahmaha smriti brahmshat buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashati. So from krodha you get confusion, samoha. From confusion you lose your memory. From losing your memory you lose your higher intelligence, the buddhi. From losing your higher intelligence, you're lost altogether.
Go on from there.
Yeah. So, but on the other hand, the next verse, 64. Raga dvesha viyuktais but by disengaging from passion and hatred, vishayan, and from the indriyas, I guess what you see, chana, the indriyas are operating on their objects under the control of the Atma, right? Atma Vashayi. When that happens, Videyatma, you have the Atma's principle. And the person, adhigachati, attains prasadam. I don't know, prasadam, I looked that up in the dictionary, and it can mean, it's a very positive clarity, maybe enlightenment, prasadam, illumination.
It's like, I don't know, related to like offerings at a puja or something. Right?
Yeah, in the Vaishnava version of thing, prasada is a gift.
Yeah.
Is a gift. That's what you get
And you
back.
And you get to eat a little at the end.
You get a little prasada
It's a
at the end.
prasad.
You get,
Yeah, right.
you
Yeah.
get it. It's usually a sweet.
What's not to like? Yeah.
That's good. That's good. That's when all the party favors are blessed by the That's nice. That's lovely.
Okay, so it sounds like starting in at 62 that it's saying that when you meditate, then you're forming an attachment to the object that you're meditating.
If you're meditating on the objects,
then that goes from your gross attachment to desire,
Right.
right?
mm,
And then desire's bad, because then that's gonna get you into confusion, and
right?
then you're gonna lose your memory, and then you lose your higher, higher intelligence, then it's all gone. But,
Right.
if you disengage from the object of your senses, or focus on your senses, then you can attain some gift of clarity.
Well, there are a couple ways of reading this. The Atma Vishaya will be emphasized by the tantrics as everything's under the control of your deeper self.
Okay.
But you could read this Raga Dvesha Vimuktai as disengaged from Raga and Dvesha, so from sort of egoistic passion and hatred.
Okay.
And sort of thinking, I've seen this translated to the senses are going to roam on their objects. They're going to take in smells, tastes, sights, sounds, so on, but they're under the control of the Atman, and then a person who's like that arrives at illumination, or whatever prasad is, kind of.
Interesting.
But the next verse tells us more about prasada. Prasade sarva dukkanam hanir asya upajayate prasana chetaso hi ashubudi padiyava tishtate. So, when this prasada comes, all sarva dukkha, all pain and suffering goes away. Hanir is thrown out. That happens. Upajaya, that's born. Upajayate. And this happens quickly. Ashu, for the person whose intelligence has, whose higher mind, it's interesting, there's chetas and buddhi. So the prasana, once the chetas seems to be something higher than the buddhi. The buddhi, it's as though even your mental faculty, buddhi is usually the intellectual faculty, that is going to also come to prasada. So it seems it's not totally skeptical. It's not saying just don't think at all. There's going to be a kind of an illumined mind. And I think that connects with chapter 2 where he says, look, let me give you the overview. Don't worry so much about life and death. All these, you're going to be reborn. If you die, everything that dies is born. Everything that's born dies. That's just the way the transitory world works. It can't be transitory. Of course, with the Buddhists, everything's dying and being reborn every instant, right? There's, in momentariness, every kshana is a new birth, and so I think, but even in this, this is much more substantive, but even the mind can get a kind of illumination. So the next one, Nasti buddhiya yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha abhavayata shantir ashantasya kutaha sukham. So there's this higher intelligence. The one who doesn't practice yoga is not going to get this higher intelligence, buddhi. Nasti buddhi, not the one we've been talking about, this sort of illumined mind, is not going to come for a person who doesn't do yoga. Ayuktasya, yukta. That's the person who's practicing yoga, and ayukta is one who doesn't practice yoga. And a person who doesn't practice yoga, ayuktasya bhavana. That bhavana, I think bhavana in the Upanishads is, look, we all have a divinity deep in us, but it has to be enlivened. Bhavana. That's what bhavana is kind of meditation, sort of like bringing the deep up to the surface,
Like
enlivening, making it active and come out.
It's a latent divinity. It's
Yeah.
kind of like under the surface.
Yeah, bring it out.
Yeah.
Don't just let it sit there. It's gonna be there anyway.
You gotta shine it up.
Yeah. Let it come out.
And that's achieved through yoga.
And that's achieved through yoga.
Om Mani Padme Hum.
And so it's a very positive view. I remember reading Faulkner and in the Snopes trilogy. There's this terrible person, Snopes. He sells his soul to the devil, and they go to try to find his soul so the devil can take possession of it, and they can't find it. And it turns out it's back in the corner of a little matchbox. It's there. But he needed that guy needed a lot of bhavana.
It worked. It kept it away from the
Okay. So a person who doesn't bring it out, not cha abhavayata. That's a present participle with the negation not, right? So one who's not bringing this stuff up, who's not enlivening, shantir. Shanti will not come, right? And a person who doesn't have shanti doesn't have true pleasure.
Yeah.
So see, there ends up being this idea of there is something pleasurable, blissful about the higher state. I mean, it's not just a void, as maybe some would mistake it. It's just there is some content. Sukham, pleasure.
The sugar, yeah. The sweetness.
Yeah.
I wonder even in using a baser word for pleasure, like sukha.
Yeah, sukha is a base word.
Yeah, right. Like if he's almost saying like, look, you're meditating on the things you're trying to get pleasure from in a base way. Where's the pleasure?
Yeah,
Where's this pleasure you're
where's
trying
the
to
pleasure?
gain? You're fighting for it. You're just getting a bunch of dukkha in your efforts to get sukha.
You're not going to get it until
Right.
you get to the
Yeah.
real source of pleasure, which is
The progression that Robin mentioned,
Right.
like it's this like, okay,
Right.
it started out
right.
basically seeking sukha.
Right.
So where is it?
Where is it?
Yeah.
Right. You want to get it. This is the way.
Right.
Right. And so.
Kuta.
So
yeah.
You want to do that one?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, sure. What 67?
67.
Yeah.
Okay. Kuta means where is the pleasure? Okay. So you're gonna
What one of these fine people read? You don't have to translate.
And that's what you want to do.
Read
One?
for good luck.
To read it in the Devanagari. You got the Devanagari, or the transliteration?
Yeah.
Okay.
67.
67.
Yes.
Tadasya, Harati,
No, isn't it Indriyat? It was 60.
Starts right above.
Indriyat.
Indriyanam,
Indriyanam, right?
Indriyanam, He, Karatam,
Charatam.
Yanmano, Nuvidhyate,
Anuvidiyate.
Nuvidhyate, Tadasya, Harati, Prajna,
Vayur.
Vayur, Na,
Navam.
Navam,
Iva.
Iva, Basi.
Umbasi. Yeah, Navasana. Talk about Dvesha, right? Raga and Dvesha. I hate Navasana. Navasana. It's so hard. Oh.
It's so
That's
good for you,
Navam.
though.
This is Navam, right? This is boat. This is boat. And you can't confuse Navasana with Nava. Nava means 9. So that shows you the difference between a long and a short Nava is boat. And it comes from now. That's even Indo-European. We have what, nautical.
Oh yeah. No. Beautiful. Yeah. Cool. All right. Maybe.
Now that's.
Yeah.
But Nava, don't confuse that with because that means 9. Nava. Nava is 9. Nava is boat.
It's gonna take you forever.
Yeah.
It just says the one.
That's great. Short I, long I.
Excuse me?
Short I, long I. Sometimes, right, you hear E and E. You hear E or E.
You all right?
Or sometimes you'll hear people say it or E.
Yeah, I don't like you.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I hardly have perfect pronunciation.
Okay.
But I was told that
E.
they're very similar.
Right. E or E.
And it's just the length,
Yeah.
the length that you hold it.
Yeah. Okay.
For oo and E
Ooh,
and E.
Yeah.
But and are different.
Okay.
Those you can definitely hear.
Pranayama. Okay. So,
Oh yeah.
The senses.
you're gonna read it on that?
No, we have to translate this first. You have to. Actually, I should rephrase.
Yeah, this all we have to translate.
this
For Yanmano Anuvidiyate, so Charatam. So Vidiyate Tad Asya Harati Prajnayam Vayu. Well, this says the mind, anu means after, so vitiyat, if it's this is a little hard because vidiyate is very positive. It's like that's a good thing. But anu means sort of chasing after. So if you're again, it's kind of like that kami, desiring desire.
Right.
If the indriyas are going to be churning, but if your mind, your lower mind, manas, hankers after these churning one, then that's going to carry away your prajna. Your higher intelligence is you're going to lose it, like wind or air, vayu, on the waters. Iva, like wind, vayu, right? Vayu is a dhatu. Navam, a boat, on umbasi, that's locative, on the water.
So like the wind on the water?
So,
The wind on the
Boat
ship
on the water?
like a boat on the water.
Yeah, the wind.
Like a boat.
Yeah.
And they only had sailboats, I guess.
Okay,
Right, they're thinking of sailboats.
so it will drift, or it will be
Yeah,
pulled
that-
away
Yeah, pulled away.
by the winds of
The
your
winds.
desires,
Right,
or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So, tasmat,
The mind
therefore,
senses.
yasya mahabaho ni grihitani sarvasha indriyana indriyarthebhyas tasya prajna pratisha. That sort of sums it all up. They should be controlled. Nigrihitani. Checked.
Checked.
They're checked.
Got it. Some kind of held behavior.
They're checked, and then your prajna is pratishtita. Then your higher consciousness is settled. And then remember again, Arjuna is asked, how does this person live? Ya nisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagarti sanyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato mane. So what? Ya is night, sarvabhutana. So it's for all beings, for everyday beings. For the one who's controlled, the sanyami, well, that is his waking or her waking state. And what is the waking state for ordinary beings? That is night for the Muni who sees.
That's really lovely.
The Muni is
Sage.
sage or the yogi. And then we got to that conclusive one, right? Now, isn't that the next one?
Yeah.
The one we skipped ahead to. I
So
memorized this
night
one.
is, did you say like night is day and day is night?
Day is not yet.
Yeah.
Day for the enlightened is what is night for ordinary beings, and
what is
night is
for ordinary beings? Oh, we said that already, right?
you waking. Well, look, the central
Like waking, yeah.
Yeah, the central
Think of it that way.
metaphor in Buddhism is Buddha. Buddha means the awakened one.
Right.
Yeah. Right. But this other, the putting it the other way is, it's cool to say like, oh, if I were in the state that you were in, I would be asleep. Living
But
with
then,
you
but then,
sounds like
but then we get this at least. It lets this strict asceticism lets up a little bit in verse 7, right, where it says apuryamanam machala prati. This is beautiful. Apuryamanam machala pratishtam samudrama pravishanti yadvat tadvat. So yadvat like that, tadvat like that. Yad like such. We don't have correlative pronouns in English. Yata, tata, like X. Sir, how would you say
What is a
that?
correlative pronoun?
Correlative
We
pronouns
don't
is
have them in English. You just
I don't
said.
think we have it.
Okay,
It's not-
so sorry, I'm like, I haven't.
that which, that
You can
truck,
s-
which is, I don't know.
Maybe like and so sometimes, like the sands of the
You know,
hourglass.
as
so
such
too.
and such,
So
so, yeah,
too.
as so.
Like the
Very
sands
good.
of the hourglass, so too these are the
Yeah,
days of our lives.
as so.
Let's put that
Very good, very good, very good, very good.
Bravos, huh?
So
Very good.
proper wisdom.
But it's very poetic to have that. See, like yadvat tadvat.
Yes.
So one way, same way. Yadvat tadvat. That's what. So
He didn't recognize.
yadvat
the Holy
tadvat
Scripture
kama
I was quoting.
yam pravishanti. Huh?
You didn't recognize the scripture I was quoting.
No, what was your quote?
Like the sands of the hourglass, so too these are the days of our lives.
Oh, what scripture is that?
It's the soap opera, the days of our lives. It's the opening words of the soap
One of
opera.
the longest running television shows of all time, by the way.
Whatever.
Yes. Wonderful television.
Yeah, Shanti, sorry. Tadvat kama yam pravishanti sarve. And it says, here it says, you know, all desires, yet tadvat, like that, like the rivers entering the ocean, so all desires enter whom, in whom they enter, so that person attains shanti, spiritual peace, not the person who desires desire.
So just like let it come to you.
Yeah,
Don't
let it
try
come.
for it.
Can I have a little bit of both?
Yeah, something.
No. No, you can't. Sorry.
So.
Wow, it's tough. That's a tough road to hoe, isn't it?
But I don't know, that almost seems to be contradicted in the last two verses of the chapter. Vihaya kama nisarvan puman charati nispriya nirmamo nirankara shanti marigashati. Vihaya, rejecting common desires.
Rejecting
Yeah, all the
common
charati.
desires.
But he acts, look, but he still acts, charati. But he still acts nispriya, without longing,
Right.
without nirmama, without mina. Mama means my, without minus, without egoism, ahankara.
Okay.
That person gets spiritual peace.
Could he be expressing a progression here, right? Like contrary
Yeah.
to the other progression that he expressed about how focusing on sense objects devolves into utter ruin over a process, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
one thing to, prior to not having desire at all, you would have desires arise and choose not to act upon them,
Right.
right? Or maybe you would have desires arise and not even have the desire to act upon them, even though you feel the desire. You have the desire of the object, but you don't have the desire of the action towards the object, and then eventually, right, maybe it's one thing to say, oh, you will attain, if you stop acting, you will attain, but the one who has attained is desireless, or something in that sense. You no longer have these desires. It seems like he's playing with these two,
I think, I don't know, I may be too influenced by the tantrics.
yes.
But the tantrics come to see, they wouldn't really call them desires anymore. They're forces.
Yeah.
They're we're complicated beings, and the universe is complicated.
Yes.
And these various forces act through us. And hey, that's just the way it is. Actually, Sankhya is a little bit like that. Sort of recognize the various ingredients of reality, or I don't know, in the Pali Canon, in that the 89 dharmas.
Yeah, like elements of enlightenment or something.
They're going to happen,
Yes.
right? And you I think in Sankhya, I think the original Sankhya was just recognize things for what they are.
But
Yeah.
those are two of the more ascetic traditions, right?
Yeah,
Theravada or Sankhya.
yeah, well, yeah, it's interesting.
It is.
that the tantrics weren't quite so. So here we have the last verse of 72. Might as well get through the second chapter. The third chapter is on karma yoga. So nirmamo nirahamkaro sashanti marigachati esha brahmi stiti partha nainam prapya namuhyate stitwa. Oh, I see. I read two lines together. So first the one Shanti Marigachati, that's 71, and then 72 is Esha Brahmi Stiti Partha Nainam Prapya Vimuhyate Stitwa Asyam Antakale Pi Brahma Nirvanam Richati. So a spiritual person, a Brahmi, or the sort of spiritual state, Brahmi, make that an adjective. Esha Brahmi, this is the spiritual state. Stiti, O Arjuna. And once you've attained this, you're not going to be confused anymore. Vimuhyate. Stitwa, situating yourself in this state at the end of life, antakale pi, you go to Brahma Nirvana. So I'll let everyone interpret Brahma Nirvana
Different category, right?
For yourself, huh?
Different category, right?
Yeah, it's a different category.
Totally different thing.
Yeah, Brahma Nirvana.
It's
That's
totally
right.
different, just higher.
It's higher than Nirvana.
Brahma Nirvana.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's on the same lateral.
Yeah, I think Brahma Nirvana.
The highest.
Nirvana is the Brahma is the adjective.
So it's
It's
just
the highest.
Yeah, so Nirvana,
Purest.
it's sort of like the highest Nirvana.
Yeah.
The highest Nirvana. Yeah.
So it wasn't like necessarily like, I'm not thinking of the right word, but it's not necessarily a divine qualitative part of it, or it is. With Brahman, like Nirvana, is it like something like, it's you basically merged in with the divine and now you are drinking from the river of bliss of God.
Well, I'm sorry. My ability to comment on these things ends with this sort of stuff.
What do you think of that? There's a sort of an escalation here when he's gone from talking about sense objects and losing desire to talking about ahankara, which he hasn't gone to that level yet. That is a
that's just mentioned for the first time here.
Well, what is that?
The ahankara is usually looked upon as egoism,
Egoism.
because also look what it's
So that's
coupled with
Absorption. Giving up your the self.
Yeah, giving up the self. Yeah.
Absorption into.
Yeah, it's like one thing he's been saying, give up objects, give up objects, give up objects, and when you totally, when you finally reach that state where you're utterly indifferent to all possessions or desire, then you become indifferent to the idea of you even,
Yourself.
yeah.
which is
Nirmama.
a big step.
That's like a parigraha, right?
a parigraha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nirmama, no possessiveness.
Yeah.
No possessive.
A parigraha. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
I think I thought of a better way of asking the question I was trying to ask. Ishvara Pranadhana is the same thing as Brahma Nirvana?
Oh, Ishvara Pranidhana.
Unknown?
I wouldn't say.
No, I wouldn't
He asked
say.
you though, not me. Is Ishvara Pranidhana Brahma Nirvana?
Worship and one's experience of it.
Yeah, Pranidhana. Yeah,
Yeah,
Pranidhana.
I would say.
Well,
The answer.
you know,
Devotion.
in the Upanishads, there's a certain example given to try to explain Brahman, the absolute, the divine, the one. And there are several examples, but one of the most major is clay and what's made of clay. And the point of the example is that what really exists is the clay. And the clay can be made into pots and plates. This is what Shankara says. Lots of different things. It's still clay.
Yeah.
The shape, they'll go on and say, well, it's also like a reflection. It's not, but I think some people get carried away and say it's illusory. The pot and so on, the individual shape is illusory. I don't think that's the point. The point is that the existence, the higher reality, is the clay. The forms that the clay shape, they're okay, but they're not as real as the clay. The clay is going to be there no matter what shape you put it in.
Right.
And the Upanishads use this a lot.
Isn't that kind
This
of summary
guy-
of the whole Gita?
They'll say the gold bracelet, and so, but I think it's just a metaphor. It's not, be taken as somehow philosophically, absolutely, I don't know, what do you want to say? It's not just an assertion of some fact. It's a looser statement than that. It's something that you have to. It's look. You could be a materialist like this, right? What's real? Just matter. But that's not how they're thinking about it. What's real is going to be Satchidananda, the absolute. And the various forms, you and me, the sun and the stars, they're just various forms. And there are various levels, there are various emanations. There's the physical level, the pranic level, the lower, again, we're back to that kosha theory of the various kinds of emanation. But you, embody all those levels. You as a person somehow are all of those, but if somehow you could get in touch with the deepest part of that, that's supposed to be like Krishna, be like Mike, right? Krishna, and he's active, right? He's going out and fighting a war.
Yeah, right. What he says, it seems like he's talking about, of course, which I'm sympathetic to as a Buddhist, this idea of reaching this nirvana state is a stripping away. The way that he's describing it here.
Yeah, that's right, he does.
Yeah,
it sounds very
it's
ascetic.
letting go of
focusing
on sense objects,
right.
letting go of desiring
right.
sense objects, letting go of wanting to act on that desire,
right.
letting go of the feeling of any desire at all, letting go of even your attachment to me.
Right.
But he also gives an active process to get there, which is not just stop wanting these things, but meditate on me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Meditate on me. That's what you stop meditating on this stuff. You want something to meditate? Meditate on me.
Right.
And then the stuff will fall away.
Right. Yeah, I think that's right.
I'll try.
Okay, shall we read all together this in
Yes.
part?
Sure.
Om Tat Sadati, everyone. Om Tat Sadati. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Sankhya Yogo Nama Dvitiyo Dhyaya. That's the end of the second chapter.
Cool.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
Okay.
cool.
Now we come to karma yoga, the third chapter.
Alright,
Great.
next week.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you, Doctor.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so
Wonderful,
much.
wonderful.
This is great. This is wonderful.
Cool. No class next week. I'm sorry, 4th of July.
4th of July.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Is there like a comment box somewhere?
Comment box. Totally.